Are your kitchen and bathroom way overdue for a remodel? Well, I got the guy for you. Call John Sellers at First Response Contracting, 484-256-7136. Both residential and commercial services, and he's licensed and insured. Call him at 484-256-7136. First Response Contracting.
From real estate to real life and everything in between, The Brad Weisman Show. And now, your host, Brad Weisman.
All right, there we go. We're back in the studio. I am super excited about this show. This is definitely going to jump back into the real estate realm, which we haven't done for a little bit, but we're going to talk about some interesting things that go on with credit. So I have the America's credit expert right here streaming in the studio with me. His name is Rondi Lambeth, and we have all kinds of stuff to talk about. So, Rondi, how you doing?
I'm doing absolutely incredible.
That's great. That's good. Well, so I want to get into that. You have had some serious situations go on in your life, but we're going to go into credit for a little bit, but then we're going to jump into some of the things that you've had recently happen to you. How did you become America's credit expert? I mean, what does this mean, and who trained you, and how do you know so much about credit?
In 2006, I was a fireman.
Okay.
I worked for Littleton Fire Department. I was on the busiest rescue in Denver.
Wow.
And Denver area.
Yeah.
And one day I got off shift. I turned on my phone and I had just dozens of voicemails from my mother. So I call her up and she told me my little brother, who was also a firefighter in Oregon, had an accident. And so I assumed it was an accident at work because, you know, we get hurt all the time.
Right.
And after I started talking to her, I find out my brother was behind on some bills, some medical bills, some credit cards, you know, your typical stuff when people, and he was young, he was 26 years old. So I grew up really, really poor, no running water, no electricity. We got our food out of a dumpster. I'm the oldest of 11 kids. I left home when I was 15. So I wasn't super close with my mom because my mom, you know, had us living with a guy that used to beat the living crap out of us and put us in the hospital and torture us and was just really abusive. So I left. And with her calling me, it was kind of odd. Yeah. So come to find out my little brother had shot and killed himself.
Oh, no.
And over a couple $1,000.
Because of money?
Because of money.
Oh,
yeah, money, bad girlfriend broke up with him because, you know, he's stressed out about money. So I kind of went into this, I don't know, and I wanted to help more people. I'm already a firefighter of the year. I'm on the busiest rescue in Denver, saving, you know, 10 to 12 people a day. But I wanted to do more, and I wanted to go out and help. And I did some research, found 50,000 people kill themselves every year, and they leave in their suicide note, it has to do with money. It's the number one cause of divorce, number one cause for heart attacks, disease, cancer. I mean, stress from money problems is really the root of all evil. It's not money. It's the stress of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I started down this path of helping people with money. And I didn't know a lot. You know, I was 30 something years old at the time. So I bought an entire set of law books from the NCLC, which is National Consumer Law Center.
Really?
And I essentially put myself through law school based on specializing in credit. And I bought several $1,000s worth of these law books, and they specialized and focused on lawsuits against credit bureaus, banks, and collection companies, and what went wrong.
Yeah.
And what they did wrong to allow the consumer to sue and sometimes get up to $50 million.
Wow.
White v. Experian is a $50 million payout. So that's how I got involved in credit repair and helping people with credit. I started a nonprofit. I started doing these weekly seminars, got trained by Joel Bauer on how to do public speaking and stage speaking, etc. Started a radio show in 2010. Had attorneys from all over the world, all over the nation fly in to the radio station in San Diego, and I talked about credit. And then next thing I know, I'm nationally syndicated, and now 16 years later, have helped over 500,000 people increase their credit scores.
Wow. You know, and I think, you know, when you say the word credit, to anybody, and I know it's from obviously selling homes. That's what I do. It is always that everybody thinks that once they get into bad credit, there's no way to get out. And I think and if you think about that, if there's anything in life that you feel like you're in it and you can't get out, I can understand how people feel the only way to get out is to not be here. You know what I mean? Seriously, that's like when people get really sick. Sometimes they'll take their lives because they feel like there's no out. There's no way to get past this. So it really, as much as you would think for you and I, we'd be like, all right, I'll get my credit back. It's not a big deal. But a lot of people don't realize that it is repairable. It's fixable. You can get it back to a 700, 750, 780, whatever you want. It just takes time.
Yeah, anything placed on a credit report can be removed from a credit report. Anything. Bankruptcies, charge-offs, short sales, collections, judgments, repos, anything can be removed from a credit report because it was placed on the credit report. The key is just knowing how and what to say, when to say it, how to say it, where to send it to get it removed. And it's removed permanently. And what I want people to know is bad credit's a choice. You don't have to live with bad credit.
Good point.
I get messages I get messages every day on how we change someone's lives. Like I said, in 16 years, we've helped over 500,000 people get into homes, start businesses, get business funding for their business. And every week, no exaggeration, Brad, every single week, I get a message from someone that I saved their life.
Wow.
Every single week, people, I get them, and it's, I have a million plus followers on social media, and they'll be like, hey, I started listening to you. I did what you told me to do. I followed your advice on your podcast or social media. I fixed my credit. I got married. I got a house. I got a business. I got kids. I mean, their whole life changes based on their credit score because it's the number one thing in your financial world is your credit score. Yeah. And anyone can have a high 750, 800 credit score pretty much at any time if you know what it is that FICO wants you to know and how to manage it. And I was trained by FICO in 2010, and there's less than a dozen of us still out there active in credit that's a FICO certified credit professional.
So can you go, what's FICO? I mean, a lot of people don't know what that is. So explain what FICO is.
Yeah. FICO is the Rolls Royce or the gold standard for credit scoring models. It was developed by Bill Fair and Earl Isaac in 1956. One was a mathematician, one was an engineer. They created a very complicated algorithm that predicts the future. And they predicted the future billions of times since 1956. And what I mean by predicting the future. I was going to
say, predicting the future. I've never heard of it said that way. That's unique.
Your credit score. Let me show you something. I'm gonna switch this over if it's okay.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So your credit score, your FICO credit score is 300 to 850. Can you see that there?
Yeah, if you can move a little bit, that's fine. That's great. Right there is excellent.
Yeah, 300 to 850. But if you put a period between the 0 and the 8, that's a 30% to an 85%. That is all your FICO credit score is what is the likelihood?
Oh, interesting.
Of you paying your bills on time over the next 2 years. If you have a 300 FICO score, which is just a score, there's hundreds, literally hundreds, if not thousands of different scores. There's TransRisk, Paydex, Liquid, Intella, Vantage. I mean, I can keep going.
Yeah.
But FICO is the gold standard. It's kind of like in real estate. There's real estate agents and then there's realtors.
Yes, yeah, exactly right.
Absolutely. It's not the same thing.
No.
A realtor is a professional. It belongs to the Realtor Association. So FICO, the gold standard, 300 to 850. 300 represents there's a 30% likelihood you'll pay your bills on time.
Wow. I never thought of it that way.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
So now when you look at your credit score and you got a 770, 77% chance you will pay your bills on time over the next 2 years.
That's amazing.
Why is it not 1,000? Because there's not 100% chance you'll pay your bills. You could die.
Yeah.
You could lose your job. You could get cancer. So that's why they just made up the number. They just pull it. In 1956, they're like, 300, 850. And then they trademarked it.
It's funny. One of the questions I had for you was, what is the top score? So the top score is 850.
For most FICO models. Now, There's 11 FICO models. What you use as a real estate professional or what mortgage brokers use is FICO Model 2.
Okay.
Which was developed in 1996. So imagine us using our computers with Windows 95 on it.
Yes.
It's not going to work very well. The reason they're still using FICO Model 2 is because the government says they have to.
Oh, interesting.
The government wants I know it sounds crazy. I'm not going to put on a tinfoil hat and go down that road, but the government wants you to pay more in interest than you normally have to. And so they force mortgage companies use FICO Model 2, which was developed in 1996 prior to lendingtree.com, prior to creditcards.com. And inquiries have an extremely large impact on your credit score. Credit cards have an impact. And your FICO Model 2 score will always be lower than your FICO 8, 9, 10, or 10T, which is the new versions.
So they do that because when let's just say you go buy a car or a house or whatever, and you go and you get credit pulled 3, 4, 5 times. Those inquiries, I never understood this either. This is a good point. Those inquiries, how does that affect my credit score?
Well, depending on what model you're in, if most banks are using FICO Model 8 for car loans, student loans, credit cards. Mortgage companies are the only ones that use FICO Model 2.
Gotcha.
So FICO, if you have one inquiry or 100 inquiries in a 30-day window, it counts as one inquiry on the credit score.
Okay.
However, it'll show up on your credit report and you'll be denied credit because you have too many inquiries, but it doesn't impact the credit score. What impacts the credit score is opening the new trade line, because 90% of all late payments, 90% of all late payments happen within the first 2 years of an account being open.
Interesting.
So when you have a new account show up on your credit report, FICO is going to automatically deflate or reduce your credit score because they're trying to predict the future. What's the likelihood of you missing a payment over the next 2 years? Well, you got a brand new car loan, much higher likelihood of missing a payment, so they lower your credit score. It's not the inquiry. It's the new account.
They're just basically saying, okay, he's got a new payment now that he might screw up on.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's incredible. Totally incredible. Now, what about a business? What about if you have an LLC or something like that? How are we scoring that? Is there a way to score a business credit?
Absolutely. Yeah. So every business can establish business credit, but there's not a Fair Credit Reporting Act on businesses. So if I wanted to pull Apple's credit right now, I could pull Apple's, I could pull Microsoft, HP's, I could pull Amazon's credit for $40 to go to Experian.com, type in Microsoft, and I'll know how many bank accounts, how much money they have, who they have credit cards with, who they have airplane loans, all of it. There is no privacy for businesses. The problem with business credit is banks don't share that information with the credit bureaus. One, they don't want to pay the credit bureaus because you got to pay the credit bureaus for them to report. And two, because there's no privacy, Wells Fargo doesn't want Bank of America to know that you got $3 million in your bank account with Wells Fargo. They don't want Bank of America to know that you have a line of credit with them. And so they suppress it. They don't report it.
Yeah.
So it's a two-edged sword, though. The biggest disadvantage of business credit is you have to build it. You have to go out of your way and go a specific order with specific vendors to get the credit score calculated and to build a credit report. The advantage of that is once you build your credit report, and we teach people how to do this, but once you build your business credit, because Wells Fargo doesn't report, you can get a loan with Wells Fargo, one with Bank of America, one with Chase, one with US Bank, one with First Bank. So what we specialize in is $100,000 micro loans. So if you're a business owner and say you want to buy some multifamily or you want to buy an Airbnb or a piece of real estate, instead of trying to get a $500,000 real estate loan that takes all of this paperwork and you got to qualify, I can get you 5 $100,000 line of credit with your business credit with no financials.
Because they don't talk.
Because they don't talk.
There's no talking.
They don't know that you got $500,000 loans.
Unbelievable.
Then you can actually write a check, essentially, line of credit, buy the house, and then you refinance it. And as a real estate professional, a lot easier to refinance than it is to qualify originally. Because now you got a tenant in there making them rent.
Yeah, you have the asset already. Yeah, the asset's there. It's not a matter of if they're going to give you the asset. You already have it. Exactly. That's interesting. I never knew that about the. It makes sense though, because these big like when you do LLCs and things like that, there's no reporting, so there's no way for them to look and see that I have a loan with Wells Fargo or with Bank of America or whatever it would be. That's incredible. Absolutely amazing. So, tell me, what is. Years ago, they would say to build credit, and this is what we used to hear when I first got into business, which is 30 years ago, they would say you have no credit. Okay, so no credit is sometimes worse than bad credit. Is that still the case?
It can be. Yeah.
Like young people, they don't have a credit card. Yeah. They don't have anything. What is their score? How does it even score?
Well, it doesn't score. It'll say unscorable. So when people say, there's a famous radio show host, you can say his name, but I'm not going to say it. He says, I have a 0 credit score. It's not true. He's a liar. I've seen his credit report. He has an unrated credit score. There's no such thing as a 0. Remember, it's 300 to 850.
Yep.
It's not 0. It's either unrated, which is you are, which means they don't have anything. So your question is no credit worse than bad credit? It depends.
Yeah.
If you're trying to buy a house, it's better to have no credit score than a 400 credit score.
Gotcha.
Because with a no credit score, I could put you on a credit card today, and tomorrow you'll have a 750 credit score.
Interesting.
Just like that.
Yeah.
I have over 5,000 credit cards that I have access to from previous clients that I can put any of my clients on those credit cards. $50,000 credit limits, 20 years of history.
Yeah.
I put them on. Tomorrow, it's on their credit report. Now they have a 750, 800 credit score.
Interesting. That's an interesting concept there. Wow. And then what do you do? Somebody comes into you and you're like, okay, how do they get in touch with you? Do you then have a payment thing? You say, okay, if I get your score to this is how much it costs. I mean, how does that work?
Well, we don't charge per score. It's a really interesting concept. And there's some people doing that right now, some credit repair companies. I don't own a credit repair company. I used to. Now I have a financial education company.
Yeah.
We fix people's credit for free.
Yeah.
So you literally could go to my website, sign up, pay for your credit report. The credit repair is absolutely free.
Oh, wow.
If you want financial coaching, consulting, we have a $3,000 down payment assistance program for new home buyers, even second home buyers. With that, we have packages and we finance all that for our clients. So for like business credit, we'll get you a couple $100,000 of business credit.
Yeah.
It's $7,500 for the coaching, the tax planning, the debt settlement, the business in the box, and $250,000 of business credit, $7,500 or $299 a month. So we have all different packages, anywhere from $40 a month to $300.
Where's the best place to find you?
Probably fortresscreditpro.com. That's Fortress, like the castle, credit, like your credit score, and then pro.com professional. If you wanted to find me personally, just be rondilambeth.com, which would be RONDILAMBETH. Or if you're lazy, you can go to Google. I'm very, very lazy. I like copy and paste a lot.
But your name is not easy to remember, though. Rondi is not the most. Is that your given name?
That is my given name. My parents were hippies. And I don't know. My mom come up with it.
Somebody was smoking something. I don't know.
They were smoking. But if it's you type in Rondi, RONDI credit, it's you did a little bit of research on me. I'm not very hard to find.
No, you're not. You're not hard to find at all. Let's talk a little bit about, and I want to talk about some a drink that I'm using that you might like. But let's talk about you. 2 years ago, you had a major accident. This has nothing to do with credit. It has to do with you. But this is amazing. You were flying you're a pilot, private pilot, but you were flying a paramotoring. I never knew what they were called, but it's like a parasail with a motor on it, right?
Yeah, it's it's a lawnmower engine with a propeller and an oversized parachute.
Yeah, so by the way you just explained that as a pilot myself, I don't think I'd be jumping into that seat. I mean, when you say lawnmower engine with a parachute and a prop in the back of some sort, that doesn't sound safe.
Yeah, I know. I do some here's the whole story. I was in the military. I was in a medevac helicopter for 15 years in the National Guard. I spent 11 years as a fireman. I was the first responder at Columbine High School shooting. I've personally been in 4 shootings, 2 helicopter crashes, 1 airplane crash, not including the one we're getting ready to talk about.
Jeez.
And so I had a lot. And then my stepdad used to beat the crap out of us and torture us. So I had severe PTSD, and I had it under control my whole life until 2 years ago. And instead of having 1 episode a year, I started having 8 to 10 episodes a day.
Yeah.
And so I'm very connected in the special ops world and Navy SEALs and stuff. So you ever read the book Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins?
I've heard it. I've heard of it.
The guy that wrote that, his name's Tucker Max, and there's a whole movie made about his life. I hope they serve beer in hell.
Yeah.
That's his first book he read. But anyway, his wife does PTSD therapy for the military. Oh. And so I went to Salt Lake, Park City, and I did PTSD therapy. And the guy that was putting it on was a Navy SEAL. And after I went through it, he's like, hey, you just did this PTSD therapy. Why don't you hang out with us and the rest of the Navy SEALs and we'll go do paramotoring? I'm like, what's that? And he goes, you strap an airplane motor, it's a lawnmower, on your back. You start it and it launches you 15,000 feet up in the air. I'm like, cool.
Sounds like a great time. Yes.
Sounds like a great time.
Yeah.
So first day, it was amazing. Flying over Salt Lake, the Great Salt Lake.
Yeah.
There's over 1,000 buffalo ranging, just free range, wild animals in Salt Lake. And so here I am the day before my crash. I'm flying within 6 inches of the herd of buffalo. It was amazing.
Yeah.
The second day on launch, I got up to 300 feet and my engine quit.
Oh.
Not a big deal. I had a parachute.
Yeah, I was going to say.
The problem is where the instructor had us flying, not the Navy SEAL, but this guy that he hired, had us flying in an area that had a bunch of buildings. The wind shifted. The parachute collapsed. I fell 3 stories. When I landed, my foot hit the ground and my foot stayed. My leg kept going. So I ended up ripping my foot off my leg. I broke my ankle in half and I shattered my leg in over 20 places from my knee to my ankle.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Are you tired of looking at your car covered in road salt and winter grime, or not quite getting the results you would like to see from the car wash? Well, I've got just the solution for you. The Detail Shop, your go-to destination for premium auto detailing. I saw the screw. I saw the picture. There's you have a lot of metal in your leg and your ankle. A lot.
Yeah. My right leg from my knee down, including my ankles, all steel and titanium plates and bolts. And
that had been tremendous. What was the next thing you remember after hitting? Do you remember hitting the ground and hearing that whole cracking and all that?
I won't say what, if you want to watch, it's all on Instagram, by the way, the whole thing.
Wow.
From start to finish. I won't say what I said, but I said blank, that hurt.
Oh.
And then I tried standing up. And at that point I collapsed on the ground because my foot wasn't attached. And then the guys came over and they're like, hey, we're going to call the fire department. I'm like, no, put me in the truck because it's a volunteer fire department. I'm like, I do not want to be in the back of an ambulance as they're driving through this cornfield, bouncing up and down with my foot hanging off my leg. So they helped me in my truck and then they drove me to the hospital. And then I went there and they did surgery and gave me some ketamine, which was absolutely incredible.
Ketamine. Mm-hmm.
And then I laid in bed for 3 weeks until the swelling went down, and then they did surgery, and then I basically laid in bed for 4 months. And
wow. Yeah, you're
spent a couple $100,000 on stem cells and a whole bunch of experimental therapy that within 2.5 months, my leg was 99% healed. The bone was healed, not the tendons. And I still struggle. I still can't run without pain, but I'm almost back.
Yeah. Wow, you're lucky, man. I'll tell you. Any higher than that, you might not be telling the story. I mean, if that would have happened at 300 feet, if it would have actually folded up at 300 feet, you wouldn't be really around probably.
No. And I think part of it, the reason I'm still here was, I'm a pilot.
Yeah.
And I spent 15 years on a Huey and we crashed twice. And so I have a superpower, and that is I don't get freaked out.
Yeah.
And so I stayed calm the whole time. You can see it on the Instagram or the video.
I'm going to have to watch that. Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to land right there. That's where I landed. It's just, I wasn't planning for the parachute to collapse on.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Here I am.
Yeah. It's amazing. Unbelievable, man. Yeah. I'll tell you. And then recently, not too long ago, you had a heart attack. So you went through that, which you seem to be doing fantastic. And that's one of the things. It's funny that, there's not much that I worry about or think about health wise. Heart attack is the one thing that I always think is one of the scarier ones, because it can just come out of nowhere. You think everything's good, and then next thing you know, it's not.
Yeah, I was working out. I'm very healthy. I work out a couple times a day. I'm climbing Mount Everest next year, to give you an idea. I'm a health nut. I'm a biohacker. And in August, I had an ultrasound done on my heart, my legs. Everything is perfect.
Yeah.
And 4 weeks ago, Saturday after Thanksgiving, I'm walking my dog. I get home, take a drink of water. Feels like someone's ripping my arms off, like the Braveheart moment.
Yes.
Braveheart moment when they're ripping his arms off. That's literally what it felt like.
Wow.
Instantly pain. And I looked at my Apple Watch. It's all wonky. The heart rate's messed up. The pulse ox.
Did you get the sweaty, vomity feeling?
Nope.
Because that's one that people talk about. I
did not have a heart attack at that moment.
Okay.
I didn't have the heart attack until about 15 minutes later when I was in the ER. Because I'm only 4 miles from the hospital, which is why I'm still sitting here.
Oh,
I had what's called the SCAD, spontaneous cardiac artery dissection. I had 3 arteries in my heart spontaneously rupture.
That doesn't sound good.
And they just ripped open and were bleeding out. And that's why it was so much pain, like someone's ripping my arms off, which then resulted in a heart attack, because then it tried clotting and then it blocked those 3 arteries.
Unbelievable.
Rare. It's about 1 out of every 10 million people have a SCAD. It's not health related. It's not diet related.
Just the way it is. Just happens.
It's stress. And I believe it was stress and COVID, because COVID creates a lot of problems for heart.
Yeah.
I was never vaccinated, but I had COVID a couple times, and they don't know. They literally, have no, if you go to like mayoclinic.com and you type in SCAD, they say it's common with young women in labor.
Yeah. So how's the baby
in labor?
How's the baby doing?
Yeah. Does not talk about men at all. Like,
that's
it just
wild.
Doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I was right next to the hospital, and I got in, and within an hour I was on the operating table fixing me up.
Yeah. Good.
I'm pretty good.
Well, that's good. Hey, you say you're into the health stuff. I had a question for you. Are you taking any of the nootropics, or have you read about the nootropics and stuff, like the lion's mane mushroom and all that things?
Every day.
Seriously.
Every day I take it. And in fact, I got a stem cell patch on my neck right now.
Interesting. So I started drinking this thing called what's it called? Magic Mind. And it's got the nootropic. It's the nootropic. It's got the matcha, and it's got ashwagandha stuff. So what do you, when you're taking any kind of a nootropic, do you feel much better?
I do. And as long as I don't drink a bunch of caffeine, I do exceptional. It's like Limitless.
Yeah.
Yeah. The pill. Remember the pill? So that's what I get out of it. And I take it every day. And then I take a little bit of, I microdose mushrooms at night.
Yep. There you go. Yeah. Well, this has all that stuff in it. I'll tell you what I've known, the clarity. Like I feel like I have a clearer mind from taking it, and I don't drink as much coffee. I drink like 1 cup now, and I'll drink this with it. Pretty amazing. Boosts my energy. I feel like my stress is less, things like that. So I'll tell you, if anybody's out there who wants to try something, I know you're taking it. I think this stuff's amazing. Magic Mind is what I'm using. So if you get a chance, check it out. Is there anything else you could tell me? If somebody's to end up the show, somebody's having credit problems, what's they should know that there's a fix for it. They can fix it. Any advice that you want to give them right off the bat?
Yeah, I would say if you're having credit problems and money's tight for you and you just want to have a higher credit score, if you go to my website, creditmojo.ai, creditmojo.ai.
Okay.
We will let you use our software that's helped over 500,000 people fix their credit for free. You pay for the credit report, you put your username and password to the credit monitor in, and our system will automatically create everything for you. And do everything for you. Absolutely free.
That's amazing.
The next thing I would do is, if you want a higher credit score, you need 3 credit cards on your credit report at all times. 3 minimum.
Interesting.
Of 3. You need to use those 3 every single month, and you need to keep your utilization rate below 5% not 30%.
Interesting.
How'd they come up with 30%? Because that's what banks tell real estate professionals, mortgage brokers, and everybody else, because banks make more money the lower your credit score. So they tell you 30 to 50%.
Interesting.
FICO, the guys that actually create the score, say 5%.
Yeah, because they have nothing in it. They're not making any money from that. The banks are.
They make money from the score. They don't care what your score is.
That's amazing.
Banks make money from lower credit scores.
Yeah.
So with all of that stuff, I give all that information away on social media as well at creditmojo.ai, creditmojo.ai. All of that is free. It's all included. And I do that because I'm trying to help people that are maybe in a situation like my little brother was.
Yeah.
I don't want people killing themselves over a credit score, a financial problem. And then if you want coaching or, financial assistance with business credit or down payment assistance on the house, of course, we have those other packages that you can reach out to me on that.
Awesome, man. I appreciate all the help with this. I learned a lot today. Seriously. What's amazing, I've been doing real estate for 30 years, been, sold over probably 2,000 homes in that time, and have done lots of loans and been right next to the loans being done. And people have had credit issues. And there's so much that we don't know. The public doesn't know. It's incredible. It's actually, it's almost like there's secrets there. They want you to have bad credit. And it seems like it is, because the banks make more money when you have worse credit. Amazing.
It really is. The banks, the lower your credit score, the more money the banks make.
Amazing.
And that's really the unfortunate thing, the way the system is set up.
Unbelievable. Thanks so much for coming out here today. I appreciate it. I know our listeners were going to appreciate this. We will talk to you soon and get some updates on what's going on with credit. All right. Thanks a lot, Rodney. There you have it. Rondi Lambeth, man. I'll tell you what, the America's credit expert, and boy, is that true. I mean, he is just giving us all kinds of information. You can go to his website. You can go anywhere you want. Just look up Rondi, R-O-N-D-I, Lambeth, L-A-M-B-E-T-H, and he will help you out. All right, that's about it for today. We will see you next Thursday at 7 p.m. All right. Are your kitchen and bathroom remodels a little overdue? Well, now's your chance to call First Response Contracting. John Sellers will take care of you. 484-256-7136. They do residential and commercial, and they're licensed and insured. Give them a call at 484-256-7136.